guys, Wendell Sailor here for another round of PNGBet.com. Welcome to round 14 for Big Dell's tips. Well, I can't believe the Blues won the first Origin. That was a good win in Townsville, a bit of history there, but the Queenslanders will bounce back in game 2. Mark my words. Hi guys, Wendell Sailor here for PNGBet.com, and what a round 14 match we have for you. Seagulls versus the Cowboys. Well, the Seagulls are playing some great football. We all know why. Tommy Trbojevic at the back, but the confidence through their forward pack really starting to stand up. Big Marty to power back with his power. Jake Trbojevic does what he does. Tommy Turbo from the back, and he gets those young players. He gives those young players confidence. When you've got a bloke like Tommy Turbo there and you're Jason Saab, you're getting excited because he's drawing attention, and then Morgan Harper is doing such a good job in the middle there, in the centres, but also Kieran Foran. So it's a welcome back for Kieran Foran, the old brigade there, DCE and Foz, ready to take the Cowboys on. And the Cowboys, they've hit some form too over the last probably couple of months. Their first month of the competition was very, very ordinary. They got a bit of a blast from their coach, Toddy Payton, but Toddy Payton's got some players back on deck now. Valentine Holmes is playing some really good football from the back. So it's just going to depend on how some of these players back up after Origin, and that's where you need your young players like Hamiso Fido. You need him to bring his X factor to the game. Young Jarvid Bowen, you need those players to step up. So I think a lot of the young players here, this is their time. This is when the coaches expect you to stand up. Because once you play Origin and you've got to try and back up, you're not going to be 100%. So for me, I look at a guy like Jason Taumalolo. He's so powerful. He's got such an X factor. They need him here. But at Lotto Land, look, I can understand why Manly $1.34, the Cowboys are $3. Cowboys aren't that good on the road. Manly at Lotto Land, I'll be taking the -10 here at $1.93. I just think Manly got so many points, and the defence has really improved. So for me, the Manly Seagulls here will get the chockies. Well, the second game on Friday night, we have the Sharks versus the Panthers. The Panthers, I do feel sorry for them. They were brought back down to earth last week. Obviously, wasn't their strongest side because they've had 7 players in and around Origin. Also had some injuries and that. But their young players understood what it's like to get beaten. They haven't felt that for a while. So their streak comes to an end, and they're up against the Sharks this week. So I like what the Panthers have done here. They've named their 17, but they've left their Origin players out. So they'll probably just have a look and see how they back up. So those players who played last week, they know what they have to do to be better than. Ivan Cleary was obviously disappointed, but they've got some wonderful players, as we've seen. Matt Burton over the years, he's a very tidy player. Dylan Edwards at the back, young Charlie Staines. It was funny, last week the Tigers are really up for it, and the Sharks. The Sharks have been some big improvers in the last couple of weeks. They're starting to get some injured players back. They're starting to get some confidence through that team. Where I see the Sharks' strength is in their forward pack. So if they can match it with the Panthers' forward pack here, they'll go a long way to winning this game. But it'll just be interesting to see how Panthers readjust after that loss last week, but also who they get back from Origin. I look at their halves, Matt Moylan and Sean Johnson fighting for new contracts. Will Kennedy at the back. He's playing some really good football, but also they've got some really talented players there. Mulatalo, he's a young Queenslander. He's got some attitude, so I love the way that he plays. Where I see this match, well, Sharks are at home at $2.87. That's a big price, but so they should be. Panthers, nice little price here, $1.36. Where I see them winning, I reckon through the middle and on the edges. The Panthers, I'm taking the -6.5 for $1.74. I reckon you get on that and you'll cash in. And I've got no doubt a player like Nathan Cleary and that will back up, and that will be good for the Panthers, because the Panthers, they're going to get back and they're going to wow. They're going to wow. Well, we have the Titans versus the Roosters. The Titans, they nearly took down the Storm last week. Really good effort. I think young Campbell, Jaden Campbell, really good debut from the young man. Put a couple of good tackles on, a couple of good plays. But you get a bloke like AJ Brimson back after Origin. He'll go back there. Their hooker, he's starting to find his feet a bit now, Aaron Clark. He's a very talented young player, but he's aggressive, gets those second phase play. And you have to, because when you look at this Roosters forward pack, you got guys like Takiaho, Angus Crichton is back after a couple of weeks out, Tupanua. So Dradbury Hargraves, This is the strongest forward pack I think Roosters have had for like a good 4 to 6 weeks now, but we know their back line's all class. It'd be remiss of me not to mention Brett Morris. What a wonderful career. He's retired this week, but if you have a look at their backs, there's still some very solid backs there. Daniel Tupou, Joseph Manu there. So they're going to go pretty well here, the Roosters. At Seabus Stadium, but the Roosters are too professional here. They know how to go away. They know how to win. The Titans, $3.30. The Roosters, $1.28. Where I see the Roosters winning this, -9, I reckon they'll cover that easy. So I'm going to take a bit more off here. I'm going to take the Roosters, -12 at $1.95. That's how much I believe in the Roosters can start making a bit of a run now. They're starting to get some players back. And they don't have that many in Origin at the moment too, which helps. Usually they've got so many players in Origin, but because they've got so many injuries, they're not stacked with Origin players. But I'd expect a guy like Teddy Tedesco to back up. But if not, they can cover him. They've got such a talented squad. The Bunnies versus the Knights. Well, the Bunnies, they're starting to find some form here. The Knights, the Knights. They've just got so many young players coming through. They've got suspensions, they've got injuries, and they're finding it hard to stick with the big dogs. Parramatta absolutely had their way with them last week up there at Newcastle. I called that game for Triple M, and it was embarrassing. It was an old boys' day, and Newcastle just couldn't fit it with them. But they'll get a few players back. Saifidi, he's going to be back there after Origin. And you've got to go like Mitchell Barnett, who I think he's a very good player. He shows some aggression at the middle third, but he had a couple of mistakes in him. So they need to bounce back after last week, the Knights, but it's hard. If you have a look at this Rabbitohs side, no one does it better than Wayne Bennett. Wayne Bennett will have a look at these players coming back from Origin. He'll go, Latrell, I might rest him, I might play him. Latrell will want to play, but I look at their halves. Cody Walker and Adam Reynolds. When you've got those sort of players getting you around the field, they can do a job. And their forward pack, well, you see a guy like Colin Matangi, Jacob Host, they know what to do. They know their job is to lay the platform to do the job. So I can't see the Rabbitohs losing this game. It's at Stadium Australia. The prices here, South Sydney $1.15. They'll start to really ramp it up now. This is what Wayne Bennett does around Origin time. He likes to pick these 2 points up, and he wants to build confidence for the back end of the season. Newcastle Knights, $4.75. That's a really big price. I think South are going to be way too good here. South minus the 18.5 for $2.05. That's what I'll be taking because I reckon the Bunnies are ready to put on a show. Well, the Raiders versus the Broncos here, GIO Stadium. Well, you know what it's like going down to Canberra this time of the year. It's one of the worst places to play football because you're not used to the cold weather, but you just got to toughen it up and be tough because last week the Broncos got absolutely thrashed by the Dragons last week. They got 50 points put on them. They'll get a few players back, no doubt. But it's up to them now to see what they can do because Raiders aren't travelling that well. Raiders have got a few problems there. There's a few players who are talking about leaving. Obviously, what's happened with George Williams. This is not a happy Raiders side at the moment. And also at the moment, they're talking about buying guys like Matt Duffy and that. But Papali'i, he returns. That's a big name. So obviously, he's not available for Queensland. So he'll finish his suspension. So Papali'i, he'll be back. Josh Hodgson there, he's been a bit unhappy with what's been happening there. So where I see this, I see through their forward pack, laying that platform. Their aggression's not there at the moment. We know they've got some really good backs, the Raiders, but at the moment, they just haven't been doing their job. Where I see this, the Raiders $1.36, the Broncos $3. My tip of the week, the Broncos to win this, take in the $3. Or, if you want to, take the Broncos with 10 start for $1.75. Well, the Warriors versus Storm. The Warriors have actually got a good record against the Storm, but the way the Storm playing at the moment, they have injuries. They might have a couple of suspensions here and there, but the way they play, they're just such a great team. A lot of different personalities in this team that make up a great side. They've got Cam Munster, who will no doubt want to back up after Origin. But what I reckon is good about this Storm team is the players that don't have to play Origin. So you've got your Bromwich brothers, you've got Big Nelson there, you've got guys like Jerome Hughes, Kiwi players. They've got all these internationals and stuff, and then they got like Kamikamitha, the Fiji international, who's like the biggest man in the game other than Big Nelson. But then you've got the Warriors who are playing such good football at the moment. They're always in games, but I reckon for the Warriors, their last 10-15, they switch off a bit. So Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, he goes back to fullback. And I think for me, Cody Nikorima, he's got to do more. He's got to control them getting around the park a lot more, because with this Storm side, they'll look to dismantle you through that middle third, hit you on the edges, and then out wide. You know what they got? They got Josh Adokar, they got George Jennings. They just do it easy. Last week, they were brought back to the field a little bit against the Titans, but we know that wasn't a full strength Storm side, but they get the job done. That's Craig Bellamy coach side. And it's funny to think, I'm looking at the starting team for the Storm, and Brandon Smith starts at 9. You get a guy like Harry Grant and Crispin Walsh coming off the bench. That's hard to beat. The way they do things is next level. Craig Bellamy will assess where the boys are at, but for me, it's hard to go past the Storm here, even though the Warriors have certainly gotten better at playing at Central Coast Stadium. So the Warriors, and so they should be, they're at $4.75. The Melbourne Storm are at $1.19. Where I see the Melbourne Storm, I see the Melbourne Storm actually putting some points on these guys here. I reckon take the -15 for $1.87, and I reckon you'll cash in here. That's my tip this week, and I reckon the Storm they're going on this nicely. They love the fact that the Panthers are flying high, doing what they're doing, and no one's talking about them. But let me tell you, they're positioned just nicely. Well, we got the Eels versus the West Tigers, and the West Tigers, they've found some form, and the Eels, really good win last week. So the Parramatta Eels aren't stuffing around. Blake Ferguson is obviously quite an astute winger. He's come under some pressure with his defensive misses. So young Hayes Dunster, he was in there last week, did a really good job. So they've stuck with him. You're going to have some of those Origin players back, like Big Junior Paulo. Ryan Madison played very well last week. The way that he started on that right edge, went bang right foot, and that set the standard for the Eels. When the Eels start fast and start really aggressive, they're hard to beat. The West Tigers at the moment, they're starting to find their confidence, and they'll like what they did against Panthers last week, but they got to cash in on that. They got to back it up. They've got some very good players through their forward pack, but I just think the secret for them is their halves controlling it. Luke Brooks looks to play a lot freer now. Moses Mbai's found some form there, and that allows Adam Dewey to do what he does out wide. Big Adam Dewey, he's a good player. But I just love the aggression through the back row of what they're doing at the moment, the West Tigers. But for me, I'm going to tip the Eels here. The Eels are $1.30. The West Tigers are $3.30. I'll be taking the Eels -13 at $2.04. Because when you play at Bankwest Stadium, they're just a different side there. I know they've had probably 2 losses there this year, but still, I reckon that they're starting to find their feet again. This is a game to round out the round 14. The Bulldogs versus the Dragons. The Bulldogs. This, you just sort of want them to do really well. You want them to have a couple of wins just to get some confidence up. I've got so many mates who are dog supporters who just go, what are we going to do? Well, Jerry Marshall King comes back, so he'll give them a bit of a spark through that middle third. But if you have a look at this Dragons side, they played some really good football last week on the back of Matt Duffy. It's funny, when you get a player, when a club says, look, we don't want your services anymore, it's funny how players, and we've all been there, how all of a sudden you start to ramp up your form and stuff. Matt Duffy was sensational last week. Everything he did was sublime. I think he scored 2 tries, 5 try assists, and everything he did had class. And I hate when people say, I was only against the Broncos. It doesn't matter. When you're playing NRL and you can do that, well, you deserve to be in the NRL somewhere. So I've got no doubt someone will pick him up. Really good forward pack, the Dragons here. You look at that back row. Josh Kerr, Jack Bird, Jackson Ford. I just don't know where the Bulldogs are going to beat them here. I know the Bulldogs will give it a good go, and the Bulldogs have a really good record against the Dragons over the last probably 3 or 4 years, but I just can't see them beating the Dragons. I look at that price. The Bulldogs, every bit that price. They're at home, $3.83. The Dragons $1.20. I don't know if the Dragons should be that short. Where I'd be looking here, after what I saw last week, I'd probably take the Dragons -12 for $1.76. They've got plenty of points in them. They'll have someone like some of their forwards backing up. Tarek Sims, obviously Jack DeBellin played last week. He'll be better for the run. They look too big, too strong for me, the Dragons. I think they've had 2 wins in the last 8 games, so I reckon chalk them up for 3. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Bulldogs can do something here, because there's a few disgruntled fans, and Trent Barrett's doing his best. That's Big Dell's tips for round 14. I'll see you same time, same place, next week.